news anime. Uh, so I was prompted to look into a channel called Exit Truth, right? Um, I don't put a lot of stock into channelers just as a rule of thumb. But I am aware that there are real channelers out there. It's self-preservation. It's not because I have something against channelers specifically. I've just come across too many that are pushing like narratives that they're unaware of the consequences of. Kind of like controlled opposition. Exit Truth is a good channel though. Regardless to where the information. Nah, that's not a good way to say that. It's good information. Fuck all the, formalities and whatnot. I'm not saying I resonate with all of it. I'm not saying I believe all of it is true. I'm honestly not even saying all of it is necessary. But, I've said it many times. I kind of operate in the form of a chaos magician in that I soak up as much as possible and I expel anything that doesn't, resonate with me or seem to be, the case, true, whatever word you want to use for that. But a lot of what she says is there are things that I also have come to. It's interesting. I left a comment saying that I'd like to collaborate or speak with her. So we'll see what happens with that. I had conversation today that kind of was in line with all of that stuff, almost like almost like a where you're at in understanding type conversation, and it made me think I hadn't really shared that specifically in a minute. I think I always do that in a way, but it's usually on a specific topic, not this whole kind of general sense of in the end what my research is, or what it started off as anyway. It's kind of branched out into multiple arenas, but so I figured I would do that. The first thing I'll start off by saying, and maybe I'm doing this backwards, but I don't plan videos out like that, so it may be backwards, who knows. It's more and more coming to my attention that a lot of what we all choose to focus on, and I'm not talking about a specific, lane or topic, but most of it, if you think about it, is coming from this place. And if you're like-minded to me, you have come to the realization that this place is fake. And so by using that same logic, if this place is fake, then most, if not all of the information that you're being given or provided to work on is also fake. You could say it that way, or you could say it just doesn't matter. That's the way I'm choosing to look at it, is that it's interesting. These things are interesting. Some of it may very well be the truth, but it's inconsequential. Doesn't matter. What I feel within me is this. I am a divine being with the breath of life, with a peace, a spark, from the first, a soul, whatever you want to call it. I am in this place with others like me, but way more that are not like me. The differences are not at all hard to see. Many of them are frustrating and or malicious, confusing, infuriating, lots of emotions. There are parts to this thing that many like to give their 2 cents on, or how they feel about it personally. And I'm even drawn to sharing those with you. But in the end, again, I'm reminding myself even that much of that does not matter. Doesn't matter. Whether or not we're here on some kind of like, you know, learning expedition like a school or college or fucking Harry Potter with the jelly beans and shit, or The Magicians, which I love that series, but even then, you know, if it's that, then it's that. And you can't necessarily do much to change that, at least not from my perspective, because I've tried. I've tried many things. Some of them gave me perspective, but as far as being able to change the overall experience, didn't do anything. We're provided choices, not the capability to actually create. You can create music, but all of the notes were already created. You can create art, but it's very likely going to be based in something that you've seen before, techniques that you've seen before. So are any of these things really creating, or are they artistic expression? Right? I still enjoy many of those things. I love making music. I love writing. Both, you know, artistically and not just artistically. I don't like academic writing, honestly. That's why I do videos instead. But when I start to think about a lot of the aspects of this place, I think that there are shrouds over things, and they're very thin shrouds that make beings believe that they're bigger than they actually are, or they're sturdier than they actually are. And it even fools those of us that can see sometimes. But I think the more that you actively tell yourself, like, it doesn't matter. This doesn't matter. That's not real. You know, this answer to this thing doesn't really matter. The more that I do that for myself, let me say it personally, the more that I do that for myself, the more encouraged I am and the more empowered I am to not let this place beat up on me. Because that is one thing that I will say for my own personal experience, is that it seems like it's fucking attacking me. It seems like torture much of the time. Like a lot of the time, it seems like it's trying to defeat me or to get me to give up and just let whatever happens happen. And to a sense, I let whatever happens happen, but I also take my sovereignty and make choices. And so a lot of my life has not been easygoing, or even what a lot would say or consider to be easy. Most of it has not been. And I've found ways to smile and laugh and be happy and to, interact and love and all these things within those situations. But if I'm honest with myself and I'm honest with the perception that I've had throughout these experiences, throughout moments that have passed, it has been, not awesome in totality. But that doesn't have to make me discouraged. It doesn't have to make me feel as though I need to give up something or to become more desperate in my, understanding of this place or in my application of self, The reason I feel the way I do about channels is because of what I just mentioned. I think that you become bogged down with these many, many, many theories and these many concepts of things that if you really think about it, if you really break these things down to brass tacks or to the foundation of what they are, they don't matter. You can't find the real answer. All you can use is intuition. And then on top of that, now that you have that information, what does it tangibly give you that allows you to change anything within your actual experience outside of perception? If you're changing your own perception, you don't need any of that other shit. That's what I've come to. And so there's a lot of aspects of my research that I'm going to continue with, but it's going to be from and I think I've already been doing this, so it's not really going to change shit. But I haven't told you all, so I'm doing that, I guess, is a better way to say it. A lot of this shit does not matter. It's just interesting. And though I do believe there is a answer that can be gotten to, I don't think that that is possible in a solo sense, meaning you're not going to find those answers on your own. The only way that you will find objective answers about the questions that I ask in my work is if something or someone were to reveal itself or this place's mechanics to you. And so without that happening, you're essentially just kind of like, digging around, looking around, getting a feel for what this place is once you become aware that it's not what you were pushed to believe or indoctrinated over and over again to believe. There are definitely some really, really interesting concepts on her channel, Exit Truth. And so I'm not at all saying that you should just give up on trying to figure anything out. And I'm also not saying you got to give a fuck about what I'm saying. But what I'm doing is maintaining an understanding of what this place isn't, what I'm doing while I'm in it, what to not do when I'm leaving, and understanding that if all else, is left up in the air that way, the things that I intuit about myself are, I don't need to worry about what I'm going to do when I exit this place, because it's my understanding, once again, intuitively, that when I do exit this place, because I know myself, and I know what I am not, I know that this place wants me to believe specific things about myself. Like there are thousands of versions of me in all these different universes, and there's this gigantic multiverse, and I'm but a small piece of this all that includes every single other person that I see around me. I don't believe any of that bullshit. I am Gamma. There is only one Gamma. There will never be another Gamma. I am emblazoned with the breath of life from the first. I have been given a spark from the first. But I am sovereign. So the first is never going to call me back into it. What purpose is there in that? I also don't believe that I am a piece of the first experiencing so that I can return to give it its... None of that makes any sense. If the first is a all creator, it doesn't need to do any of that. If anything, the first was, and then realized that it was alone. And so from that, it created children. It created others to interact with, to not be lonely. Not even to interact with, just to not be lonely. Anyone that is able to create is very likely going to do that from time to time, to just not be alone. You can feel that within yourself. If you're like me, you don't need to be around others, but you like to be around like-minded others. And so the concept of every single other being you see is a part of you, and you're all a part of Source, I don't like that, and it doesn't resonate with me in that way. She had the thought that Source is something different, and that's why it's being pushed so hard, that Source is actually the source of this shit, all of this stuff, which definitely resonates with me, and that's why I don't like saying that word. It feels too insisted upon, it insists upon itself. I don't think that the first needs to do a lot of the things that are being suggested by all these influencers. And if you really take a second to think about some of the shit that they say, most of it does not make sense or contradicts other things that they say. So, like, for instance, if the creator of all needed to make other beings to experience things, to experience itself, is it an all creator? Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, if it needs to do something, is it an all creator? Because I can understand the concept of not wanting to be lonely. That's not needing to do something to learn something. That's just having a yearning to not be alone. But the concept of it needed to create us to experience itself makes zero sense to me. That's a contradictory statement, in my opinion. It doesn't need to do that because it's creating whatever it wants to. So experiencing itself is an oxymoron. It's a conundrum. It's a paradox. It's unnecessary. So I don't accept that. And I'm not trying to offend anyone or anything like that, but I don't have to believe what you believe. I don't have to accept that or entertain that even. There's a lot of talk about like the physics of this place, but I skip all that. I kind of don't care. I don't care about the physics of this place because it's fake, you know? It's smoke and mirrors, and they're starting to say essentially that, but they're just so interested in the mathematics and the physics of it that they're using all these big words and, trying to pretend that those things make them understand this place any better. It does not. It doesn't. They can't even agree on the theories. You know, the toes that I've heard lately, theories of everything, TOE, toes. Some of it resonates, some of it doesn't. Most of it does not matter. It doesn't matter. And they're all employing very similar things within their personal lives, which lets me know that it's philosophy. It's not physics. It's philosophy. You know, while you may try to use mathematics or something that originates in this simulation to explain the simulation, that in itself is also a paradox and makes zero sense to me, doesn't matter. The fact that someone equally as intelligent, such as, an actor who has since said, you know what, I'm going to stop acting and I'm going to start looking into physics and mathematics and shit. The fact that he can come out and be like, math is wrong and here's how, and it actually makes some sense, disproves, it shows what I'm saying, you know? Most of this does not matter. I'm not trying to say, hey, give up on life or, go out and act like this is a video game, because there are still very real guidelines and rules to this place, to this. If you want to call it a game, call it a game. But if you treat it like one, you're going to have very real consequences that the games don't show you. You're not gonna, get 5 stars on GTA and then respawn in a new avatar. You're gonna go to fucking prison, unless they take you out, in which case, who knows what happens then. But speaking of which, that's another thing that many kind of start to contemplate when others talk like I'm talking right now. Well, if none of this matters and if there are no true rules, from the grand scheme, the grand scope of things, well, why can't I just unplug myself? I'm using why can't I just unplug myself? For one, I think that sometimes you have to use intuition in why things are said in certain ways or things are not promoted. There's, to me, some kind of reason why unplugging yourself is not advisable. I can't say what that is. I don't fucking know, but I'm not doing it, and I don't recommend anyone else do it. That said, I do think that what has been represented as what will happen if you do that is grossly misleading. I don't believe in hell in the way that it's been represented. I think you can create that for yourself. If you believe that that's what's going to happen to you, it'll happen. you know? Because again, when you leave this place, you return to you, and you may instantly, because you're confusing yourself, create this thing that you've been afraid of your entire life. So I choose to only believe that I will return to myself, and then I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want. You know? Just not coming back to this. I may fuck some people up that made this. That's, you know, we'll see. We'll see what, if the first is around, and if the first has like thoughts on that, I'll listen to those. But outside of that, I may fuck around with, you know, taking some you know, atonement, some justice into account. But at the same time, I may just be so happy that I'm out that I just fucking dip, dude. You know what I mean? But as I'm here right now, as I'm considering these things right now, I feel so connected to my brothers and sisters that I can feel that I can't let that stand. And so currently, you know, things are up in the air. I'm not going to say what I'm going to do or what I'm not going to do when I leave this realm. But I have some ideas, and I may or may not do them, you know? We'll see. We'll see. There are some that kind of have there's a very commonly referenced scenario or concept of those that are like us, that have the spark or breath of life, or whatever you want to call it, a soul. We came here on purpose, on like a rescue mission or something like that. I find that very hard to believe because, for one, you know, I don't feel like I came here with any specific like head starts or weaponry or anything like that other than a soul and unbreaking consciousness. But on top of that, I'm being tortured just like the rest of us. You know, I don't see my situation as any more, you know, I don't see it as being more benefited than anyone else. In fact, I think there are others that likely do have a spark, a soul, that are doing somewhat better, you know? And I have, over time, over moments past, not time, over moments past, I've started to view that as almost like a badge of honor, like a sign of importance. If you're being pushed down so intensely by this place, what do you think that means? You know? If you're being beat down and tortured by this place so much, what do you think that means? Right? Because I choose to think that means, oh, well, it's very much not wanted for me to do what I now know I want to do. And what I think I always would have come back around to, every time I've been pushed down by this place, or, you know, hit by this place, set back by this place, whatever scenario it was, I think that if I were to have sidestepped that, if possible, I don't think it's possible, but if I were to have, you know, avoided that in some kind of way, I think I always end up here. I think I always end up here, where I am now, talking the way that I'm talking. And I think that whoever or whatever manages this place, owns this place, runs this place, or whatever, knows that. Whether it's fucking AI or some physical material beings, I don't care. Either way, you know, I'm very likely going to try to have a conversation at the very least with them about that when I leave this realm, you know? Just to impart my thoughts with some other stuff, you know? And I think that to an extent, because it is what it has shown itself to be, that it's very, they or it or, you know, whatever, is very, they are or is very aware of my position on these things. And that perpetuates the torture or the being pushed down or the being set back over and over again. And I've become not comfortable with that, but I'm very used to it. It sucks every time. I'm not going to say it doesn't suck, But do I let it destroy or beat me or make me more inclined to believe in the many indoctrination techniques that have been deployed? No. In fact, each time those things happen, I get more indignant. I get more militant. So the more that it sets me back, the more that it does things that I feel are torture, the more that it does things that I take to be direct declarations of war, I don't become more subservient or more quiet or discouraged. I get fucking mad, bro. You know what I mean? I get upset. And that makes me, you know, look at it more and more intensely. It makes me more philosophical. It makes me more contemplative. It makes me more militant. It makes me more indignant. That's why I talk the way that I do. It's also why I don't shy away from it as I used to. In fact, I don't think I ever did that for that reason. I think I was trying to hold on to some sense of anonymity. But do I really have anonymity if I can be so easily accessed by those that don't even have the fucking gall or the fucking stones to show themselves to me? All of these things are done from afar. All of these things are done from the privacy of wherever the fuck they are. You know? That's pussed out. And I don't think I've been quiet or you know, specifically avoiding that specific fact at all since I began talking. It's very, very complex, but it's also not. That's another thing that I agree with. I didn't get her name, but Exit Truth, you know. It's made to look very complex and very like sophisticated and smart and intelligent and shit, but it's not. They're fucking morons. They're idiots. They're the things that they're pushing at you through these fake influencers and through these other beings that you can tell the difference. You can tell they're not like you. If you really pay attention, you can tell that they're not like you through both physical things like, oh, I don't have a voice in my head. I don't think to myself. I don't have an inner monologue or dialogue. When I read, I have to speak out loud or mouth the words. My dreams are vastly different from what you consider to be dreams. Like, just even on the level of maliciousness and empathy and sympathy and all of these very, very specific things to our family, they don't have them. So, like, it's very easy to see through these things. And whether you call that crazy or not also is an indication of which you are. That's just what it is. Because there are many, many that can see the difference, but in the grand scheme of things, we are few. There are few of us. When you look at the number of beings that just so happen to shoot up a significant amount, to me, it seems like around 2017, but who knows? I was in prison before that. All I know is before there, you could go out during the day, Monday through Friday, and it would feel like people were at fucking jobs, you know? If you skipped school or played hooky from work or whatever the fuck, or if you were just off a day, you would notice and be like, oh, this is kind of nice. It's not, you know, not so many people out. Now, it doesn't matter when you leave your house. There are people and cars everywhere. And it's fucking annoying. You know? There are people just sitting in their cars in parking lots all over the place. And they love to stare at you. You know? Just a lot more people. Don't know where they fucking came from. I think that there are many aspects of this that are made to seem like they're much more complex or intelligent, or you've got to figure out all these steps to it. None of that shit matters, dude. It's all, I've said it very recently, it's busy work. That's all busy work. It's shit that they're trying to get you to believe is important, but it doesn't fucking matter because they can't create. They don't have any real power. And to be honest, it doesn't matter what they try. All that matters is know thyself. Once you really know And it's honestly, I don't know what my true name is. Actually, I do. I've given it to myself, Gamma. But as far as like pre this, I don't know the specifics of that. But I do know that this is not it. I do know that I don't have to fear anything in here. I do know that when I leave this place, I don't have to worry. I'm going to know what I want to do. I'm sure this will be integrated into that. But even if it's not, as long as I understand that this is inconsequential to that, where, you know, wherever not in here is, I'm fine. That's all. I feel like that's all I need to know. The specifics of this place don't matter because it is fake. I've said before, we do this thing where we make this discovery like, oh shit, this is all fake. And then you take a step and then you start analyzing the shit that you see. You don't need to do that. And even if I'm just speaking to myself when I say that, I'm not trying to tell you what to do. But I'm not going to do that anymore. Every proverbial step that I take is going to be a step with the knowledge from before. Even if I have to remind myself every step, I take a step and I, remind myself, none of this matters. I take another step and I remind myself, this is all dumb. I take another step and I tell myself, this is all fake. I take another step and I realize you may have beings within your circle, within your vicinity, your radius, that you've been led to believe have more importance and sovereignty and capability over you than they actually do, which is zero. They have none, only what you give them. So, I don't know, man. I think I may talk about this again in a bit. This is definitely not black goo, obviously. I did a pregame for that. You know my brain, though. You know what I mean? Yeah, I gotta go jump into a meeting, but I will be back probably with some more. Love you, bye!